Hey guys, what's going on? I'm Scout with 3 Guns Down, and I've just finished watching the Xbox One announcement from Microsoft. There's a lot of good, a lot of maybes, and not so much bad, but more questions to be answered than I really wanted. However, I feel that they're holding their cards very close to their chest for the reason that E3 is pretty much right around the corner. That's also the reason why I think we didn't see a lot of games at this press conference. However, Bungie did confirm that there are going to be that Destiny is on the Xbox One. So first off, it is called the Xbox One. A lot of good things are going to be in this system. For instance, it's got an 8-core processor, which is really good. It's got a 500 gigabyte hard drive straight out of the box, or that's what it looks like. That was the default hardware that they showed on the screen with a Blu-ray player. Those two things are welcome changes. We've needed a Blu-ray drive in the Xbox for a while now. Honestly, the Xbox kind of became outdated in terms of technology 4 or 5 years ago when Blu-ray really started to pick up. Now, Sony moved a little too early with their PlayStation 3 Blu-ray first because it was still too expensive, $600, nobody wanted to pay for it. But now that Blu-ray is cheap and inexpensive compared to what it was 6-7 years ago, it is a very smart move to have the Blu-ray player in there, which is great. The 500 gigabyte hard drive is also an extremely welcome change because, I've got a 250 hard drive. Actually, it's a 300 gig hard drive, 320 gig hard drive in mine right now, and I'm running out of space. And I haven't been using my Xbox that much as lately. I've been doing a lot more PC gaming, but I still don't have that much space on it. So 500 gigs is definitely welcome. Maybe they'll do a toned up version of a terabyte hard drive later on, which would be absolutely magnificent. Now, we did see a lot of interesting things. First off, the Xbox has 3 operating systems. It has the Xbox operating system, it has a Windows kernel system overlay, and then a system in between the two to coordinate between the two systems. Basically what this means is that we do have a dedicated Xbox system, but we do have a lot of coordination with the Windows system. It is very possible we're going to see direct linkage between your Xbox and your PC running Windows, very easy communication between them, which would be a very welcome thing. There's a lot to do with that. There's so much. I couldn't even really organize my thoughts for that, but there's a lot they could do cross-platforming wise between a PC and between Xbox for that. So that's a very, very good thing. The next thing is the new Kinect. Now, they really showed off some interesting demos with Kinect, but again, these are just demonstrations. The real proof will be in the pudding when we get our hands on this new Kinect sensor and get to test it out and see how it actually is. But it looked pretty good so far. It showed a skeletal movement, facial recognition, muscle recognition. Apparently it could track your heartbeat. I don't know about that one though. I'd really like some more concrete evidence on that. But it did have better voice recognition. Apparently it operates like somewhat like the Android systems do for speech recognition developed by Google. It learns your voice, it learns your gestures, it learns your body, and over time it becomes more accustomed to you, which is very, very, very good. It has a 1080p sensor in it, and it streams a lot of information. I forgot the exact number of what the new Kinect sensor and lens stream information at to you in terms of gigabytes, but it was quite a bit. I think it was like 50 or 500, something like that. There's quite a heavy stream of information though, so I'm assuming with such a heavy stream of information, Kinect will be much more accurate, this new Kinect, than its predecessor, which is very warm welcome. The other thing is the controller. Very, very happy about the controller. It looks like they mostly left it alone, which is what I wanted them to do, but they have corrected a few things that everybody wanted fixed. For instance, the D-pad. Everybody hates the D-pad, and it's awful. It looks like they have changed the D-pad, but until we get to play around with it, who knows if it's going to be for better or for worse. But it does look like they've changed it, so that's a step in the right direction now. We just got to play with it until see what it's like. It looks like they've left most of the controls, the joysticks, everything like that alone. However, they have added the back portion between the bridge of the two RB and LB up here. There's the bridge there, and the guide button is there now. And so they talked about having bigger battery life at one point, very briefly, I think. It was just mentioned. So maybe these new Xbox controllers with rechargeable units will have much longer battery lives than their current ones, which would also be welcomed. Not completely necessary, but definitely welcomed. And they've made the buttons flatter. I like that. I do. I currently have a Fusion 1 controller for the Xbox where the buttons are flatter on, and I do like the flatter buttons on it. It's a Pro controller. So, you know, this one with flatter buttons and everything like that, better feel to it would be nice. Nice little tiny minute changes, nothing major, which is mostly I think what everybody wanted to do to the controller. Minute changes, fix few little things, nothing massive. Don't redesign the controller. It's great the way it is. Leave it. The other thing is that it looks like they've added a textured ring on the outside of the joysticks, the analog sticks. And I like that too. For the reason that it would give you more texture when your thumbs are moving out or in or around, so you know where you're grabbing on the controller precisely, better feel for it, things like that. That could also be something that's a really welcome change. The gestures, back to the Kinect, which I was talking about just a few minutes ago, back to the Kinect, all its new motions and everything like that, so now it has universal motions, the voice activation software, it allows you to do a lot more. There's huge potential here with all the new applications that it has. Xbox Live TV, which that might be interesting. We might actually somehow, hopefully, be able to get different cable providers that aren't in our area through Xbox Live. For instance, Comcast. Comcast isn't all that great, but it would be interesting to see where they go with that if they're streaming this across the internet now and it becomes like cell phones. You know, it used to be roaming charges. If you were in, like, say, Verizon's area and you went to AT&T's area, they had to pay AT&T for the roaming charges. And, well, now they've made it so that, you know, everything's kind of universal, meaning that AT&T and Verizon went and built towers everywhere so that they wouldn't have to pay anyone else roaming charges or anything like that, and it made the cell phone infrastructure much better. Hopefully, because of this, we are going to see that in the future with internet providers. It's way too early to tell right now, but that is a nice little leaning gesture in the right direction. It's hard to say. It's iffy at the moment, at best. The new Xbox Snap mode looked really interesting. So you're able to run multiple applications on one screen. You know, he was showing you could watch a movie, or you could browse the internet, or you could have a Skype call going on with Xbox Snap. And then they also showed you being able to seamlessly switch from TV to internet to game to movie to, you know, that's really nice as well. If they build all that into the core systems, that's really nice because, you know, it's not a hassle, and it's something I've gotten used to, but changing from my one input to my next input to whatever like that looks a lot better. Streams a lot better, seems a lot better. It's going to streamline a lot of things, hopefully. It would be really nice just to be playing a game, and it's like, I don't feel like playing a game. Pause. TV. TV comes up. I don't even have to move. That's nice. That's really lazy, but it's nice. So they are streamlining the whole process, and they're doing a lot of what everyone else thought they would do. They're making the next generation Xbox more media attentive. I think one thing we're definitely going to see is Microsoft concentrate on media a lot more in the Xbox. However, that's not to say they're not concentrating on games. We'll get to that in a minute, though. They did show a lot of cool new features, though, for the Xbox with Xbox Television, their newest, ESPN, you know, the NFL package, all that. A lot of sports stuff that a lot of you sports fans are probably interested in. And if you're a really big sports fan, then you definitely want to get the next-gen Xbox, the Xbox One. A lot of stuff in there. You know, I'm still most notably interested in Xbox Live TV and everything like that. All the voice gestures and everything from Kinect, they look really, really good. They're definitely concentrating much harder on media. That is definitely for sure now. And if you're a big sports fan, it looks like EA is definitely swinging with them when it comes to sports titles on the Xbox. That is for sure. Let's get into a little bit of hardware here. Let me see if I can find some hardware. Alright, so we know that the next generation Xbox has an 8-core CPU. Didn't give gigahertz on it, but that is good. 8-core CPUs, as of recently in PCs, have shown to do a lot better with certain video games, and they've shown to do a lot better with streaming multiple medias. For instance, when I'm gaming on my PC, I do. I have an 8-core AMD 8350, and it does very well streaming games, playing games at the same time on Skype. I have so many things running, and it just does a fantastic job of multitasking when you're doing all those things at once. So an 8-core, that's really nice and very good potential there. It does have 8 gigs of system memory of RAM, which is also a very good thing and a very wanted thing. It's kind of almost a necessity. Now, the PlayStation has 8 gigs of GDDR5, which is gaming platform hardware. I think that is going to slightly edge out the Xbox One in terms of graphical ability, but not by much. So we're going to see very similar games there. I will tell you this, though. They did talk about how their new engines and their new architecture allows developers to go to the low-level access of the hardware to create games very easily, which is a really good thing because everyone was very fearful that this architecture was going to lead to people not being able, leading for developers, making it much harder on them to create games, but from what they're saying, it's not. What the true test of that will be is the games later on in the future. How good are the games and how many people are still developing for them. It has a 500 gigabyte HDD hard drive, good, straight out of the box. Blu-ray drive, wireless Wi-Fi built in, of course, HDMI input and output, which is interesting to note, and it has USB 3.0, which is also a very nice added touch there with USB 3.0. USB 3.0s and PCs can be utilized for a lot more than people thought they could when they first came out, and they're being used much more widely now. So it's nice to see Xbox go with the times and include that, yes, we do support USB 3.0. I don't think PS4 said anything about that. Don't quote me on that, though. I'd have to go back and look at it, of course. The other thing about this new Xbox is it looks very slick, and I'm not going to say this is for sure, but it looks like out of the box it does come with the new Kinect sensor. I am somewhat glad that it's not completely built into it. I think that would have made the system a bit bigger and bulkier than we really wanted. But the overall design looks very slick, very nice, looks very pretty. But of course, we don't really care too much about looks, we care about what it does. I've gone over Skype already, that you'll be able to use Skype. Now, focusing back on games, they're holding a lot of their cards to their chest right now, and that is because E3 is right around the corner. I think if you pay attention to E3, people that are in Xbox for the games will be much more pleasantly surprised. This announcement was more for the general public, like this is what Xbox is doing for the general public, this general announcement. They're trying to make this appealing to everyone else to sell more units. That's why they're including all these media options. For a hardcore gamer that just wants it to play games, it certainly is going to play games. However, all they really showed us off was Call of Duty Ghosts. However, here's one thing I'm really interested in that they mentioned briefly, and I don't have the exact details, but I am going to go look this up later and possibly come back with another video and correct this, and this may even be in one of our Friday Night Chats videos. But it sounded like developers are going to be able to use servers to store information data and create more thriving worlds for online games. They definitely said that this will allow developers to make online battles, online, verses much bigger, which would immediately make me start to lean towards Battlefields 4, maybe 64 on 64 on the Xbox One. That would be very welcome because that would put it up to the PC's level. Not graphically, definitely not graphically, but in terms of play style, definitely, bring it up there to the gameplay of it, the gameplay level. Of course, you're not going to be able to get mods on a console, but still, bigger, more open servers, more thriving servers. The other thing I thought about that made this interesting is that if they're able to store information on Xbox Live servers for games, does that mean they're going to be able to create games that, which is again why this kind of, we're going to get to this always online thing here in a minute and how it was not talked about at all, which is why it's safe to assume that, yeah, it is going to be always online. But they said that, they're going to be able to produce worlds, more thriving worlds in these online environments and these online games. That makes me lean towards really heavily seeing an MMO market in the future, and also makes me think that Destiny will function somewhat better on Xbox One than it will on PlayStation 4. Not better than PC because, internet architecture is integrated into all that. I'm not going to get into that. And don't misquote me or if I misquoted or, but I could definitely see that working to Destiny's benefit for being an online MMO, and I could see that definitely working towards in the future for more MMOs on the Xbox One, and how that might create some more console exclusives, because it doesn't seem like PlayStation Network has that architecture in there yet for their online system. And that is another thing I will talk about. In terms of online ability, connecting with friends, playing online, Xbox Live is a paid service, but it is for a reason, and it's definitely showing what they're doing with our money. If the Xbox Live, this new Xbox Live system is what it seems to be, what they're talking about, massively improved over what it used to be, and massively much better than PlayStation 4's offering of online entertainment. Also, to just kind of throw a trump card at PlayStation 4, there is going to be a DVR on your Xbox that you can record gameplay with, and they did talk about editing tools being on it as well. There were no editing tools mentioned for the PlayStation 4's online share ability or whatever. However, the other thing I did that I really liked that they did was they didn't put a share button on the Xbox controller. They just said, it's in there, you can use it if you want. PlayStation made a huge deal about it. And Xbox is like, hey, it's there, have fun. And the last thing I want to talk about is, of course, the games. They said they have 15 exclusive Xbox games coming to Xbox, which is really good. That's what they're going to need to kind of win this console war, but also invigorate the market again. And all these were going to be within first year, I think they said. 8 of them are new original IPs. I believe. Let me double check that real quick. 15 exclusive games in the first year of year 1. 8 of them are new franchises. So all 15 are exclusive. 8 of them are new IPs. Really good. Hopefully these aren't like Call of Duty clones or first-person shooter. We did get to see a trailer of Quantum Break, which looked very pretty. However, I did see a discrepancy in one of their engines. The car on the bridge, when the bridge kind of collapsed under it, it just kind of moved over and then fell. Which maybe it's really early on in engineering developmental stage for the engines. Maybe someone wasn't very good at making that cinematic look pretty. However, it was not tested that was gameplay, that was a cinematic. And what makes me more shaky about Quantum Break is the fact that they had live-action people for the trailer. Very, very little cinematic or gameplay or anything like that. So Quantum Break, we will see. Who knows? That is totally up in the air right now. So 15 exclusive games. I'm assuming Quantum Break is one. That's not entirely true though. Destiny is coming to the Xbox One, which we kind of all knew that was happening. What I do like though is the fact that, PlayStation 4, they had Blizzard there announcing Diablo 3, and it was like, oh. Because Blizzard came out on stage and everyone's like, Titan, Diablo 3. You bitch! It's like I turned around and expect to get spanked like a bad boy, and then you just give me a Tootsie Roll. It's not fun. I had a Tootsie Roll. I want to get spanked! Give me Titan! But Xbox had, and I think they were trying to show their strength over Sony by not having Bungie there, by not having Blizzard there to announce games that we kind of already knew were coming. They seem to try to suffice some of their own content. However, the other thing is that I think Sony is holding off till E3 as well, much harder. than Xbox's for the games. However, you know, it did show that Xbox is definitely holding off for E3 because they're like, wait till E3 to see our games. They didn't really show any games. This was more, again, media general announcement. The one thing I do want to talk about, though, is Call of Duty Ghosts. Not a huge Call of Duty fan anymore. I loved Call of Duty 4, the first Modern Warfare. I thought it was very revolutionary to the first-person shooting genre, and is one of my favorite first-person shooters of all time, one of my top 5 games of all time. Call of Duty Ghosts might be the reinvention Call of Duty needs. Now, I'm saying might right now, and I'm not putting any confidence in that statement at all, because it is very possible this is just going to be a Call of Duty with some tweaks. With some new added environment, with a new engine. First of all, they're about 2 years too late on a new engine. We needed a new engine like back in Modern Warfare 3 needed to be on a new engine. It really did. The strain of that engine severely showed in Black Ops 2 as well. So it's a very, very good thing that they do have a new engine now. Very, very welcomed. It's about time. And there were some shots that looked very pretty of that game, and it did seem to be they did state that that is all in-game, which if that's all in-game, that's great. It looks great. However, that game is going to be crushed by some of the other games that are going to be coming out on the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4 in terms of looks. I can guarantee you that. This is not going to be revolutionary in Call of Duty Ghosts. It's not going to be revolutionary in the way it looks in terms of graphical ability. Not going to be revolutionary at all there. Battlefield 4 immediately already looks much better if you've seen any of the gameplay from it, and that's on Frostbite 3 or 2.5, whatever they're at, but it's on the Frostbite engine now. And there are a lot of other things that have better engines or just as good looking engines. However, these engines are built with specific things in mind. However, there was, and this is from my kind of standpoint as someone that's also kind of in college for this design kind of thing, something very interesting they did. So when you look at something at a distance, it has a pixel count. And when you get up to it, from that distance, it still has the same pixel count. What they do in games is they give fog or distance blur so that it doesn't have to be fully rendered, and then that fog and distance blur moves away as you move up to it, and it becomes fully rendered. What they were talking about in Call of Duty Ghosts, and this is the only thing I was really interested in, honestly, is that their pixel count on things decreases and increases. So it's basically like you have a radius, and around this radius of things you're around, the pixel count is complete. Fully rendered pixel count. But the further you get away, the smaller things, the worse things get in pixel count. Which makes sense, and honestly could make for some really stunning visuals. For one thing, for instance, if you're looking at something that's, let's say, 2 miles away, the pixel count for that is going to be very, very low compared to the gun that's in your hands. However, when you move up to something, that thing that's very, very far away, when you come up very close to it, that pixel count is going to increase so that it is fully rendered and looks very real. Now, this is a very good thing because this takes a lot of strain off the engine and allows them to do a lot of other things that are in perspective of the player with the engine. If they have so much less pixel count on their outside radius, which makes sense because when you're at a very far distance away, if that was fully rendered, you're not going to be able to see the full pixels anyway. So I'm guessing what they've done is they have measured or ranged what it looks like. Let's say they took a 1080p or 200,000 pixel count object and they put it 40 yards away. What does that look like at 40 yards away? What is its resolution? Is it a 10,000 pixel count? Is it a 5,000 pixel count? Is it a 2,000 pixel count? And what pixel count means is really how smooth is the object? How real does the object look? What is the graphical fidelity of the object? And so they take that fully rendered object and they put it that far away and they say, okay, what does that look like? Okay, that looks like a 10,000 pixel object at 40 yards away. So instead of making that a 200,000 pixel object, we'll just have an engine that decreases its rendering as it goes out. Meaning there's less strain on the engine altogether, meaning they're going to have a lot more resources to do with the engine, which is a really, really good thing. I hope other game developers take that into account and implement that in other engines, because you're thinking, but decreased pixel count, I don't know. You're not going to notice the change. You really aren't, because, for instance, if you are half a mile away, whatever's down there in real life looks blurry, you can't make it out in full detail, looks very So that's essentially the same thing that they're doing. They're applying that effect, except it's saving a lot of resources on the engine, hopefully. At least I think that's what it's doing. It definitely sounds like it would do that, because there's only such a finite amount of pixel space and counts you can have in an area and in an object. So that's definitely a good thing, and that's really the only interesting thing I saw come out of Call of Duty. Until we really see some hardcore gameplay from Call of Duty Ghosts, I'm not too interested. However, there is a little light within Call of Duty Ghosts. This game is going to focus much more heavily on emotional fidelity, or so they said. It's in the United States. No, it's not in the United States. This is when well, it may be in the United States. They didn't give any locations, but this is when the United States government has collapsed, and you're pretty much all that's left are these special forces groups that come together as ghosts. And they're kind of like the Spartans. They have a very good writer on board. I've seen some of his work, and I like a lot of his work. So hopefully he's going to make this a very enticing story. However, I couldn't help but make contrast between Call of Duty Ghosts and Rainbow Six Vegas in a lot of key areas, like gameplay, ability, things like that. It was just weird to me how many times I kept drawing on that simile there. So who knows? We'll definitely see in the future. But for all your news involving the Xbox One, you can definitely stick here for more speculation and whatnot. We will also definitely be covering E3. That's pretty much everything from the Xbox One announcement that we're going to get from now. Again, it was somewhat good. More flashes, bells, and whistles than we really needed. Not all that spectacular. However, there's more bad than you think, and the bad is from things not being announced. For instance, no word on whether it's always online or not. No yes, no no. Nothing said about used games, which that wasn't a big deal for Xbox. That was a big deal for Sony, so who knows with that one. Hopefully we'll get some more concrete details at E3 again. So there was some good, there was some and there was some bad, and the bad came in not saying anything about it. And with them not saying anything about always online, I think that's them trying to weasel their way out of it, or they're trying to figure out a way so that it won't be always online, and they're trying to push that as fast as they can until E3 so they can announce it then. Because that always online feature applies really more to gamers than anything. I think that's who it's going to affect more than anybody else, because, you know, if a gamer wants to play Skyrim and he has to be always online and his internet's out, he's fucked. Now, before I close out the video, as I stopped recording, I was looking up some more information to make sure I got everything right before I posted it. I did come across a bunch of stuff that Xbox didn't tell you. So here's what Microsoft didn't tell you at their press conference. The next generation Xbox One, will not be backwards compatible with anything. No Xbox games or no Xbox 360 games at all. No backwards compatibility whatsoever. Understandable, because of a new processor, it's very hard, in fact it's almost impossible, to make that architecture backwards compatible. But there are no plans to make any of these games downloadable on the Xbox Live market whatsoever, as of yet. They may change that later on, though. Another massive issue, the Kinect always has to be connected. Always has to be connected to your Xbox. With every Xbox One sold, there will be a Kinect, and it always has to be connected. Whether you can limit its functionality is yet known, but don't know. Another thing they're not telling you is that the next generation Xbox will not always be on, but they're playing the same thing that Sony did. Used games probably won't work. Every game has to be installed to the hard drive in order to be used for play. That's why there's a 500 gigabyte hard drive. Every single game has to be installed in order for you to play it. No, just no, that's stupid. Stupid, bad. And the other thing is that used games will not be playable unless you pay for a code to pay for them online, and then allow it to install onto the Xbox. So used games will not be payable unless you pay extra after buying the used game. How much extra is the big question. If it's $20, Microsoft, go fuck yourself in the ass repetitively with a house. If it's $5, that's not bad, but this is still kind of a bad move. I mean, honestly, I wouldn't mind paying $30 for a game and then paying $5 to be able to actually pay it to Microsoft. But games that are $54 or $50 that are used plus tax, you're still looking at around $53, $54, plus Microsoft's $5 charge to activate its online functionality and install it to your Xbox. That's a $60 game still, so you're buying it as if it was new. So why not just buy a new game? And that's if it's $5, and that's lowballing it. This might be $10, $15, maybe $20. So there's a lot of bad to this as well. Always online, it's not going to be, but this always online feature was introduced and then regressed after the public was like, you put that on there, we'll fuck your shit up. And so yeah. Will I be getting one of these things? What's really sad is actually probably yes, but there's very good reasons why. Exclusives. And it's not their 15 new or their 8 new exclusives that they're bringing, but it's the exclusives that I'm going to keep coming back to, like Halo. Like Forza Motorsport, which I almost guarantee you Forza Motorsport 5 is going to be announced at E3. I don't think they're going to say anything about Halo yet. It's way too early for them to talk about Halo 5. Maybe a game in between Halo and Halo 5, Halo 4 and Halo 5 that some other studio is developing. That's an exclusive. But I highly doubt I'm going to be buying one of these on release, and I hope you don't either, because it's a huge waste of your money. Honestly, think about it like this. How much did you spend on your PC? Probably at least $500 for a decent, or close to, for a decent working PC that will last you 3 to 4 years if you're an average user, which means you don't keep it clean, you don't keep it clear of viruses, you're not very good at using it, you don't know how to do hardware maintenance on it or anything. So after those 3 or 4 years, you're going to get rid of it and get a new one for another $300-400. Plus the cost of this new console, which is at the very minimum $400. It's probably going to be $500. That's what the last speculated price point was. I don't know if that's confirmed or not yet, though. So $500 plus, the other $500 you're going to spend on the Xbox, that's $1,000. Why don't you get a tech-savvy friend to help you build a $1,000 gaming PC? You'll enjoy it a hell of a lot more than that console, I promise you. I have a gaming PC, and, ever since I've really severely got into PC gaming, the last time I touched my Xbox controller was to watch Netflix, and that was simply because it was just convenient. Not because my PC couldn't do it, because it could. So yeah, my Xbox is almost irrelevant and dead to me as it is anyway. With these new changes coming, and the price point on them, any smart person is going to spend $1,000 on a PC instead of getting a console as well, a PC. So that's my advice right now. Save up and get you a gaming PC. Replace that old desktop family hugger. You can play your games on your PC and tell Microsoft to go fuck themselves. And Sony, for that matter. Still, in this situation, all bets are off until E3. The software is really what is going to make the big difference between these two at this point. It's just not looking good. It is looking good in a few ways, but not in the gaming market in other ways, which we'll probably get to that in our Friday night chats. Anyway, I'm Scout with 3 Guns Down, as always. Don't forget to subscribe. If you'd like to check out our Facebook, it's down in the description below. Very much appreciated for your direct feedback information and chatting up with us. Also, to do kind of crowdsourcing, see what you guys like, and figure out what else for us to do on the channel that we already are doing or not doing. It's very useful to us if you go like that, simply because it's a lot easier to talk to you or communicate with you guys through that instead of you constantly having to check YouTube. I'm pretty sure most of you check Facebook quite regularly. We also have a Twitter. That is in the description below as well. And I do post there as often as I can. Not as regularly as I'd like to, but, what would also be appreciated is if you hit that subscribe button down there and like this video if you liked it, or disliked it if you think I'm telling you nothing but lies about all this crap coming out of the next generation Xbox. It's true. I'm sorry. Get over it. I know you're an Xbox fanboy. I was too at one point. Microsoft has just thoroughly disappointed me. So is Sony. You know, my thing is like, if Microsoft fucks it up and Sony does a really good job, I'll probably get a PlayStation 4. If, Sony fucks it up and Microsoft does a really good job, I'm going to get a next-gen Xbox. If they both fuck it up, I'm just sticking with my PC, which is probably what I'm going to be doing. Anyway, guys, I'm Scout with 3 Guns Down. Don't forget to do all those things for me. Subscribe, like, go to our Facebook, our Twitter, and I will see you guys around. Leave your thoughts in the comments below. Later.